Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered if pushing your meditation practice to the extreme might have some hidden downsides? Well, this new study dives deep into those very experiences. Meditation is super popular, and we often hear about all the amazing benefits it can bring, like less stress and more peace. But what happens when you take meditation to a whole new level, when you become a really advanced practitioner? This study decided to find out if, beyond the good stuff, there are also challenging, unpleasant, or even negative experiences that come with really deep meditation. You know, we've all heard about mindfulness and how good it is, and it is. But as the researchers here point out, a lot of people trying meditation run into unexpected or tough experiences. For most people, if they're doing a bit of meditation here and there, some milder negative stuff might pop up, like feeling a bit down, some confusing thoughts, or maybe some discomfort. But in this study, they're really focusing on the folks who have been meditating for a long time, people who have really mastered some advanced techniques. They call these advanced meditators, and they have access to unique states and stages of meditation that can lead to really big changes, both good and, well, sometimes not so good. The big question is, can these advanced practices sometimes be destabilizing for your mental health? So how do you even study something this personal and complex? These researchers took a really down-to-earth approach, which is great for us. They talked to 28 advanced meditators. These aren't just casual practitioners. These are people who have dedicated years, many even tens of thousands of hours, to their practice. Think of it like this: they had really in-depth conversations, like deep interviews. With these people about their experiences, they used something called phenomenological interviews, which basically means they wanted to understand the lived experience from the meditator's own point of view. In their own words, they then took all these stories and used a method called thematic analysis to find common patterns and themes in what people were saying. They really wanted to hear directly from the people who have gone through these advanced stages. And who were these advanced meditators? Well, they were quite a diverse group, though, as is sometimes the case in this kind of research, it was predominantly male. They ranged in age from 26 to 96. And the meditation hours were staggering, from what they call around 1,100 hours all the way up to a mind-blowing 120,000 hours. So these are people with serious practice. It is also interesting to note that some of them did have a history of mental health conditions before their intensive meditation practice, like PTSD or anxiety disorders, and many had sought out psychotherapy. This is important context for what they later found. They conducted over 50 interviews, each lasting about an hour to 2 hours. They were really thorough, making sure they really understood what each person was going through. Now, for the really interesting part, what did these advanced meditators actually experience? Across all these interviews, they found 7 major themes describing difficult experiences. These weren't just minor annoyances. They fell into 2 big buckets: negative experiences and appraisal-dependent experiences. Under negative experiences, they found things like broadly negative cognitive, attentional, and existential disruptions. This means their thinking, focus, and even their sense of reality could get pretty messed up. Another big one was negative affect, so feelings like deep sadness, anxiety, and outright fear that came up during or after meditation. Imagine feeling intense fear related to the idea of your ego disappearing, or your children not being really yours in some existential sense. That is the kind of deep and sometimes terrifying stuff these advanced practitioners described. Then there were negative clinical and non-clinical transformative experiences. This is where things get serious. Participants reported experiences that were not just unpleasant but potentially clinically significant. We're talking about symptoms that sound a lot like diagnosed psychiatric conditions or the activation of old trauma. One person described their meditation practice stirring up deeply suppressed childhood sexual abuse, which is incredibly intense and can be devastating. Another really significant theme was the destabilization of foundational experience. This happens when the very sense of self, agency, and stability feels like it is collapsing. Participants described feeling utter hopelessness, misery, or even disgust with the world. It is like the ground beneath your feet just disappears. But it wasn't all straightforwardly bad. The researchers also found appraisal-dependent experiences, where the same phenomenon could be seen as good or bad depending on the person. For example, some people found the dissolution of their sense of self beautiful and wondrous, while others found it terrifying. They even talked about the potential for addiction to meditation states. Though many resisted that label, framing it more as a strong attraction to pleasant states. The good news is, these advanced practitioners aren't just left to struggle alone. The last theme was about resolution and remedies. They talked about using specific meditation techniques to cope, getting guidance from experienced teachers, and leaning on support from partners and friends. So, what does this all mean? The researchers emphasize that these challenging experiences aren't necessarily a sign that meditation is bad. Instead, they often coexist with profound positive transformations. The key, they suggest, is to distinguish between productive challenge and genuine harm. They propose a model where the intensity of these experiences, combined with an individual's self-regulatory capacity, determines the outcome. If self-regulatory capacity is overwhelmed, leading to persistent functional impairment, that is when it crosses into harm. Think of it like intense exercise. Some stress is good for building strength, but too much without recovery can lead to injury. This has major implications for how we think about mental health and meditation. For clinicians, it is crucial to understand that this stress isn't always pathology. A therapist needs to be able to differentiate between normal, albeit difficult developmental stages in meditation and actual mental health problems requiring intervention. They need to be skilled in interpretive calibration, meaning they can respond appropriately without either over-pathologizing or dismissing the experience. They also point out that the line between productive challenge and harm is really blurry and depends on many factors: the person, the specific practice, the support system, and the environment. It's not just about having a bad experience, it's about whether that experience leads to lasting problems in someone's ability to function in daily life and pursue their values. Ultimately, this study shows that advanced meditation, while potentially leading to amazing growth, also carries risks. Like powerful tools, they need to be practiced responsibly. This means providing better clinical frameworks, training teachers to recognize when someone might be struggling significantly, and ensuring there are clear paths to professional support when needed. It's not about eliminating challenges, but understanding them and creating conditions for the best possible outcomes. It's a fascinating look at the deeper, more complex side of meditative practice. What are your thoughts on these findings? Have you had any unexpected experiences with meditation, challenging or otherwise? Let us know in the comments below, and if you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like this video. Subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the world of psychology and the mind. Thanks for watching.